Some rare memorabilia are traded for millions of dollars among privileged buyers and collectors. But why are they that costly? What are some of the most expensive pieces of sports memorabilia that have ever been auctioned? 9. Babe Ruth's 1990 New York Yankees contract, $996,000. Babe Ruth signed with the New York Yankees in 1919, and his debut season was marked by record-breaking performances that would alter the game forever. Ruth was a Yankee outfielder for 15 seasons after switching from pitcher to outfielder. It wasn't long before Ruth had broken his own record again for the number of home runs hit during a month. His 3-year extension with the Yankees in 1922 made him the highest-paid player in baseball at that time. This contract is one of the most prized artifacts in baseball history. 8. Muhammad Ali's 65 Floyd Patterson Fight Gloves, $1.15 million. These gloves represent one of the most memorable fights in the history of boxing. A fight between Floyd Patterson and Muhammad Ali took place in the ring in 1965, with neither fighter showing any signs of backing off. This was after Floyd Patterson spoke against black Muslims. On the other hand, Muhammad Ali advised Patterson to check his tax returns to discover where Ali fought and who Ali represented. The 12-round fight in 1965 was tedious to watch due to its length, but in the 6th round, Ali knocked Patterson down cold. But he refused to give in, and Ali continued to taunt Patterson the rest of the way. As a result of Ali's victory, the civil rights movement in the United States was elevated to new heights. 7. Sheffield Football Club rules, regulations, and laws, $1.24 million. Between 1858 and 1877, the English city of Sheffield was home to the Sheffield Rules, a football code that was used to play in the city. The Sheffield Football Club originally drafted and changed the regulations, which were then turned over to the Sheffield Football Association in 1867. It became one of the most widely used codes of football in the 1860s and 1870s, spreading far beyond Manchester to other clubs and organisations throughout northern and midland England. In 1863, the Football Association FA in London published its own set of rules for football. Each code had an impact on the other throughout the period from 1863 to 1877 when they coexisted. There were a number of games between Sheffield and London teams that were played under both sets of regulations. Due to the increased confusion in the game, the Sheffield FA voted to accept FA laws in 1877, where both codes were combined. 6. Babe Ruth's 1923 first Yankee Stadium home run bat, $1.265 million. Even though Babe Ruth passed more than 7 decades ago, his legacy lives on in the form of record-breaking home runs. SCP Auction said that the bat he used to smash his 500th home run in 1929 was sold for $1.2 million. SCP Auction said the bat, a present from Ruth to a friend in the 1940s, was purchased by an anonymous buyer at an auction in California. Following in the footsteps of the Sultan of Swat's bat, which sold for a record-breaking $1.3 million in 2004, the Sultan of Swat hit the first home run out of the original Yankee Stadium in 1923. David Kohler, SCP Auction's president, remarked that Babe Ruth memorabilia continues to be one of the most sought-after items for collectors across the world, and this fetching price demonstrated that once again. While playing for the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees, Ruth hit 714 home runs in 22 seasons. Baseball will never be the same because of his slugging approach, which allowed him to hit 30, 40, 50, and 60 home runs in only one season. 5. Paul Henderson 1972 jersey, $1.275 million. The sport of ice hockey has been dominated by Canadians since its inception, but who contributed to the sport's and individual teams' rise to prominence? Paul Henderson is one of the first. During the inaugural Summit Series triumph over the Soviet Union, he donned the costliest hockey jersey ever sold. Henderson, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, scored the game-winning goal with just 34 seconds remaining in the contest. Canada won 7 of the 8 games in the series, making Henderson a national hero. The jersey was then sold at an auction and became part of an exhibit of rare Canadian hockey artifacts across the country. 4. Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball, $3 million. Mark McGwire memorably broke Roger Maris's home run record in 1998 when he concluded the season with 70 hits, 9 more than the former New York Yankees star achieved in 1961. The 70th home run ball was auctioned off for roughly $3 million by a well-known comic book artist, Todd McFarlane. Since the steroid controversy and Barry Bonds surpassing his record, McGwire's ball has lost a huge amount of value, but it still has a hefty price tag on it. 3. Honus Wagner 1909 baseball card, $3.12 million. Honus Wagner is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but he's rarely remembered. His card is the most sought after among collectors. However, if you poll the broader population, you'll find that few people know his name. This card is believed to be the purest of all the T206 Wagners. In 2008, it sold for $1.6 million, in 2007 for $2.8 million, and in 2016 for $3.12 million at an auction. Only 60 Wagner cards have been authenticated. Despite the fact that many of the remaining T206 Wagners have a poor PSA rating, they nevertheless sell for at least 6 figures. 2. James Naismith's 1891 Rules of Basketball, $4.3 million. In 1891, James Naismith, the man who invented basketball, penned the game's 13 rules for the amusement of students at Springfield, Massachusetts International YMCA Training School. During the hard winters, his kids required an indoor game that would help them keep in condition, but wasn't too rough for fear of injuring themselves in order to avoid damaging the spring sports. Naismith built Kansas University's basketball program, where David Booth argued that Naismith's regulation should be reinstated there. 1. The Babe Ruth jersey from 1920, worth $4.415 million. During his famed career, Babe Ruth broke nearly every baseball record, so why not break a memorabilia record? The most expensive item of sports memorabilia ever sold at auction was a rare game-worn jersey belonging to the Sultan of Swat. Of course, he shattered his own memorabilia record, as he'd done 4 times before with the MLB home run record. Nobody knows who bought the jersey. The record was set in 2012 when a Ruth jersey sold for $4.4 million. The jersey was worn by the Bambino in the late 1920s when he was at the peak of the game. In 1927, he set the record for the most home runs in a season, and he hit at least 45 home runs in each of the following 4 seasons. So, which game are you into? And what other piece of artifact do you think should be included in this list? Comment below, let's engage! Lastly, click on one of these videos on the screen to watch another amazing video. Goodbye, see ya on the other side.